All right, let's dive into something every single IT admin has to deal with, getting the right applications to the right people without pulling your hair out. Today, we're pitting three of Microsoft's heavyweights against each other. We're talking Intune, Config MGR, and the classic group policy, to figure out which one you should use and when. Let's get this showdown started.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll break down the challenge we're all up against in today's world. Then, we'll introduce our contenders. Intune, the new cloud-native champ. Configuration Manager, the powerhouse for on-prem control. And of course, the old reliable group policy. We're going to wrap it all up with a final showdown to help you decide which tool to grab from your IT toolbox for any job.
Okay, let's set the scene here. Because managing apps today, it is a whole different ballgame than it was even a decade ago. It's not just about pushing out software anymore. No, it's this constant, tricky balancing act between control, security, and giving people the flexibility they need.
This right here, this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do you actually get the right tools to your team, make sure it's secure, and do it efficiently, no matter if they're on a company laptop in the office or using their own phone from who knows where?
And this really nails the modern IT juggling act. We're dealing with so many different devices, a crazy mix of apps, some we built, some from the App Store, and that never-ending headache of securing company data on personal devices. Oh, and you've got to do all that while keeping costs under control. It's a lot.
First up in the ring is Intune. You can think of Intune as the modern cloud-native solution. It was literally built from the ground up to handle the chaos of today's hybrid workplace.
Intune uses this really clear, structured, 5-phase lifecycle for managing apps. It's a whole journey. You start by adding the app. Then you deploy it out to people, you configure it with all your settings, protect the data inside it, and finally, when it's time, you retire it. See, it's a complete start-to-finish process.
And hey, quick heads up, for all of you studying for certifications out there, these 5 phases, add, deploy, configure, protect, and retire, you absolutely have to know them. They're a huge concept, and they come up on exams all the time.
So, one of the main app types you'll be working with are what we call line of business, or LOB apps. These are basically your company's own custom-made software. Now, the key detail here, the thing you can't forget, is that Intune is picky about file formats. You've got to have an MSI for Windows, an APK for Android, and an IPA for iOS. Get that part right, and you're golden.
But what about all those traditional desktop apps? You know, the classic setup.exe installers we all know and love. Well, for those, Intune has the Win32 app type. And here's the kicker. You can't just upload an exe file. It won't work. You first have to use the special command line tool to package it into a .intune win file. This step is absolutely mandatory.
Let's make this super practical. Let's say you've got a setup.exe file you need to get out there. Here's what you do in 4 steps. First, you prep the file with that tool. Second, you upload the new .intune win package you just made. Third, you tell Intune how to install it. And finally, you set up rules so Intune can check if the installation actually worked.
Okay, on to our next contender, Configuration Manager, or as we all call it, Configmar. If Intune is the modern cloud kid, Configmar is the seasoned, battle-tested veteran. It's famous for its incredibly deep, granular control, especially in big, complex on-prem environments. The absolute heart and soul of Config MGM is its application model. And trust me, it's so much more than just an installer. You start with the deployment type. That's your actual files. But then you start layering on intelligence. You add requirements, like say, only install this on Windows 11 with 8 gigs of RAM. You add a detection method so it doesn't install over and over. You add supersedence to handle upgrades. You can even run a simulated deployment to test it all. It is incredibly powerful. And I have to call out that simulated deployment feature again, seriously. The ability to do a dry run, a what-if test of a complex deployment without actually installing anything on a user's machine, that's a huge deal. It's a total lifesaver for catching problems early and a big reason why Config Manager is still king in complex environments. So when you put them head-to-head, where do they really shine? Honestly, it boils down to the type of app. Config MG is your go-to for anything complex. Think tricky MSIs or apps that depend on other apps. And this is critical, it's the only tool of the 3 that can handle App V. Intune, on the other hand, lives in the cloud. It's amazing for Microsoft Store apps, M365, and those modern .intune win packages. And that brings us to our final contender, the original, Group Policy. This tool has been around forever, It's the straightforward, no-frills way to deploy software if you're in a traditional Active Directory world.
Look, the story of group policy is really a story of trade-offs. The good part? It's simple. And hey, it's free. It comes with Windows Server. But, and this is a big but, the limitations are pretty severe. It can only handle basic MSI files, you get zero reporting to see if things worked, and you have no control over scheduling or reboots. For anything but the absolute simplest tasks, you're going to outgrow it fast.
All right, we've met the players. We've seen what they can do. Now for the main event. Based on everything we've just covered, which tool should you be using and when? Let's put it all together.
Let's make this dead simple. Here's your cheat sheet. If you're deploying cloud apps like Microsoft 365, you're going to use Intune, no question. Got an old AppV package or a super complicated installer with dependencies? Config Manager is your only real answer. Just need to push a single, simple MSI to a small on-prem network? Yeah, group policy can handle that just fine. And for that modern challenge of BYOD and personal devices, that is 100% Intune's territory.
Okay, pop quiz time. Here's a real-world troubleshooting scenario for you. You've deployed an app with config.mr, and it keeps failing. You have a hunch the detection method is the problem. Which log file on the client computer are you going to check to prove your theory?
And the answer is appdiscovery.log. That's the one that tells you exactly what happened with your detection rules. And here's a little pro tip for you. If you want to see the details of the actual installation command running, you'll want to check out appenforce.log. Knowing those two logs will save you hours of headaches.
You know, when you step back from all the technical jargon and the different consoles, you realize that every single one of these tools is trying to accomplish the exact same thing, getting people the apps they need to do their jobs, and doing it securely, no matter what device they're on.
So if you only remember one thing from this whole breakdown, let it be this. This isn't about finding the single best tool. There isn't one. The real skill of a great IT pro is knowing what Intune, ConfigMGM, and group policy are good at and what they're bad at. It's about having a full toolbox and knowing exactly which tool to pull out for the specific job in front of you.
And that leaves us with one last thing for you to think about. Your company's needs, your users' needs, they are always changing. Technology never stands still. So take a hard look at how you're doing things today and ask yourself a tough question. Is your app deployment strategy really ready for what's coming next?